Y'all ready for this? We're back. I'm back. Uh, so yeah, I've been away for a little bit. Day after the show on last week, I zipped out of town. Go visit some family. And I tried doing some recording while I was there, but we had some connection issues, and the live show got scuttled. I did end up recording footage with the idea of maybe turning it into a video. I still keep wanting to do that, and I still keep not doing that, but we'll see if I can cobble that footage together into something workable. But I'm back. I just got back in, and I also didn't spend any time while I was away working on the back end for the channel, so we still don't have any of the updated anythings. Other than hopefully the ads are working the way I want them to. That's hopefully, ideally. Yeah, so we're back. I also made a mistake. I didn't have a ton to eat earlier in the day, and we got to about 3:30, and I was like, I'm so hungry, I have to eat something. And I ended up getting too much and ate it real fast because I was real hungry. So now I feel a little unhappy about that. So I'm planning on making delicious food, but I might eat it very slowly when we get down to it, which I suppose is nice on the back end. I don't have to rush to get at it. While I was away, I had a chance to get a chimichanga, which is not traditionally Mexican, but it was at a traditional Mexican place, like a Mexican immigrants set up a restaurant and we're making good stuff. The good stuff. At chimichanga, and I want to try making chimichanga today. It's one of those cases of I didn't have an idea this morning, and I didn't have an idea this afternoon, and then I came across an ingredient. I was like, okay, I'll work it out. Let me. You may have seen all the vegetables. We're planning a couple sauces because it's gonna be in the oven for a good chunk of time. So I have plans to make additional stuff. Let me clear a little room on my board here. Get back over to the countertop. The stove camera I took it with me, so I had to reset it up, and I think the angle's a bit different. So we'll futz with that if we determine it to be a problem. Here's what I found today, and I have a story to go with it because, of course, we've got a story to go with it. I found half a chicken, garlic butter seasoned chicken on special. I was like, what can I do with half a chicken? Well, what we're going to do with it is braise it until it's hopefully fall apart, shred it, and use it as filling for my chimichanga. Here's the story about it, though. I wanted to know, I wanted to find out what was on it. So I went to the meat counter and asked them what's the seasoning, and they said, oh, garlic butter. Okay, but neither garlic nor butter is black. These little speckles all over it. I can see grains of garlic powder. I can see little green flakes of probably parsley. I can see obviously cracked black pepper. They could not tell me what this was. It's not that they wouldn't tell me what this was. It was that they didn't know. They have a little bottle that's called garlic butter seasoning that arrives to the store, and it says, you can't see it because it's so small, spices. It's one of the ingredients. Black pepper is not listed on this. Now, black pepper, parsley, garlic are all good flavors that I can incorporate into a Mexican flavored dish. So, as long as there's no surprises in there, this will be fine. But I was confused that nobody at the store was able to tell me the ingredients of this. The only suggestion was that I could call the manufacturer of the flavor powder and ask them directly, because they don't make it in store. It arrives in a little bottle. So that was a bit of a weird interaction today. I hope I didn't come across as too much of a Karen. I did end up talking to the meat department manager over it. It was just a very strange interaction. But we're going to be braising this thing, and it's only half. I guess they're getting rid of them because they were on special. You can see it's very cheap for half a chicken. It's going to be in this guy, which we will pop over on the stove, ready to go. And I also need to preheat the oven. So, of course, the irritating thing is I could probably figure out what this is by tasting it, because it can't be that complicated. But it's raw chicken, so I can't taste it until it's cooked. Jen! I was just going over the weird nonsense revolving around this chicken. I'm sure I'm not going to repeat it all, but the past, I don't know, 5 minutes of the show is me talking about how the weird chicken. Anyways, I don't know what flavor that's going to taste like. Is what it boils down to. Nobody can tell me. I saw your message, Jen, about mushrooms. How were the mushrooms? We're going to get this guy open. I was away for about a week, so I was a little bit less than fully connected since our last show on Tuesday. You may have seen me pop in for just a moment to test tech on Saturday and then not reappear. It was a whole thing. I'm going to interrupt our overhead cam for a sec. Okay. Let's see. What do I need to... So we've got the chicken. Chicken goes in at the top. I found these actually a little while ago. I didn't know what to do with them. Guajillo chilies, which in a little bit of reading are very commonly used in Mexico, along with ancho. But you hardly ever see them this far north. I'm way far north. I'm almost at the other border. And they don't have a resealable package, so I haven't opened them because I didn't know what to do with them, but I'm going to use them here. Ooh. Ooh, they're fruity. Oh my. They're slightly sticky. They smell sweet and fruity. Little bit of spice. I just tasted the cut end there. Little bit of spice, not a ton. They're kind of leathery. They're not really dry. Figure I need some more flavor underneath that chicken, so we're gonna construct a little pile of stuff underneath the chicken that is going. I'll just split this lengthwise. Ooh, it's full of seeds, which makes sense. So I'm kind of just gonna chuck stuff in this Dutch oven until I think I've got enough stuff. Let's see, we should throw an onion in there. Should look at my onions. Oop, that one's all sprouty. I guess we're gonna use that one. As I said, I've been away for a week, so some of the things around here have turned different colors since I was last around. Oh! Ooh, okay. We're not using this one. He's all sprouty, but he's also all soft. Welcome in, Bookwoman. We'll, we should plant. Maybe we should just stick that guy in the ground outside and see what he does. That one's a little soft too. Good thing I bought a new one today. Okay, this one should be okay, but we're gonna get inside of it and see to be sure. It looks fine. So you got in. You came in time to see the guajillo. Yeah, the grocery was doing a clearance on them. I guess nobody was buying them, but I didn't even know they had them. I didn't even know what they were. I bought one because they were on sale. But I also had to like read about it, and I have not had an opportunity to use it. And now that I've opened this packaging, I'm gonna have to use all of it, I guess, because it's not resealable. And they're pretty big. Uh, Although I just went back and I was just watching an old Binging with Babish, and he pulled out at one point guajillos, fresh ones, um, in a recipe. And I guess I just glossed over that at the time because I've watched most of his older ones. Whoa! Can you guys still see me? I just had a feed crash. Okay, well, guess it was entirely on my end. My hi, Shining Spear. Welcome in. You've been lurking. It must have been entirely on my end. My screen went black and had the little error 1000 reload player popped up, and I couldn't see. OBS held, so it was probably just the Twitch panel itself. But good, no interruption. I didn't drop any frames, so Twitch did something. And I'm gonna throw another onion in there. This one, it was a little bit soft on this end, so we'll see. And if it is soft, oh no, it's not. I guess it's just the outer layers are kind of caving in, creeping. Well, I told a big story. I told a big story at the beginning. Did anybody hear my story about the chicken? Anybody at all? I'll tell it again if there's enough people here and nobody's heard it. I feel like only the bots were here when I told the story. Aha. We have one person who heard the story of the chicken. I'll do the condensed version. So it's pre-seasoned chicken. It's garlic butter pre-seasoned chicken. And listed on the ingredients is the word spices, which is very open-ended. And I asked, I wanted to know what spices, because I was planning on using it in cooking here. Ooh, this one still has a stem on it. So I was planning on using it here. I wanted to know what was already in it so I knew what to add to it. And nobody at the store could tell me. Not a single one. They went and got the bottle that the spice mixture came in, and it just says spices. Complete mystery as to what they could possibly be in there. And it's on raw chicken, so it's not like I could taste it. I'm guessing at this point that it's parsley and black pepper, just by looking at it, but I'm not sure. And I also had I felt like I was having a hard time conveying my confusion to the staff that I was talking to, because they were like, "Well, if you're worried about it, don't buy it." Well, that wasn't the problem. And one of them said, "Oh, well, when you use salt, do you know what's in it?" Yes, I do know what's in it. Salt. It's listed on the ingredients. So I'm worried that I did not get through, but I don't know. I didn't want to be too much of a pest, so. Anyways, at the moment I've got onions and these guajillos in there, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to put in before I start constructing my braise in there. Because once I grab the chicken, I don't want to be then thinking, oh, I should add this. Oh, I should add that. Let's see. I've got an old thing of celery that still looks in decent condition. Again, I just got back, so a lot of these things I'm oh, it's pretty wilty. It's gone a little bit yellow and a little bit shriveled up, but they're not like furry. So I'm going to take some of these and chuck them in the bottom too. That'll give us some additional flavor. So I'll let you know what the chicken tastes like once it's cooked. Okay. Peppers, onions, and celery seems like a good mix of aromatic vegetables to zhuzh up this chicken. You can see, well, you can't see because it's behind the camera here. I've got a red onion, but that's going to be for at least one of our sauces. Because the braise is going to be in there for a little while, so, and my oven's up to temperature. We're going to move the tomato and the onion and the gentleman. The gentleman traveled with me. If we ever get the footage from that travel show working, you can see them. So, raw chicken, as you can see, it has only garlic and butter on it. We're going to just nestle that guy right in there. And then immediately get rid of the styrofoam and wash my hands. It came in such a giant tray, foam tray there, because except for the one I got, they were all doubles. They were 2 half chickens in each package. I'm I'm not sure the logic of packaging them like that, but whatever. Especially since they did not have those flavors in the main case, just in the little foam packages. I don't know. Good deal for chicken. It's cheaper than a Costco chicken. Uh, those Costco chickens are $5 each. This was not a single one of these was $5 even for a double. And I do have some chicken stock. Actually, do I have? I just got given a bunch of bouillon, dry bouillon. Let me use the one I've already got. The one that's already open. This stuff. It's a bouillon paste. I'm not going to bother making a full like scooper of it. It's a paste, but it's runny because it's quite warm in here. But I'm just going to take a couple scoops of that and run it to the bottom. My phone is ringing in the other room. Pardon me a second. Well, click my. Well, how rude. It was a nothing call. It was a garbage call. They didn't even have the courtesy to have a robot talk to me. It was just silence. Anyways, I'm just drizzling some of this stuff toward the bottom to sort of so that when I put liquid in there, because we're gonna put some water in there. Hi, Cizanne. Welcome in. We are just about to stick this chicken in the oven, and then we're going to do other things while it cooks. But I'm not telling the story of the chicken a third time. Oop, I got schmutz on my glasses just now. That's not good. I got to be able to see. We need to be able to see in the kitchen. Very important. Water. We need water in that. And for a braise, here I will do it right here on camera. So the chicken stock concentrate will dissolve as I put the water in. We're going to start with a cup of water. I'm going to need more than a cup, but I want to see how much it goes up. So I'm thinking 3 cups. And I'm going to take the opportunity to rinse down. Yeah, so we're about a half cup short, and it's poking above the liquid what I feel like is an appropriate amount. And before I took it in there, why not? The old standby, put a bay leaf in it. I'm sure it does something. I'm told by chefs that a bay leaf does something. Leave the lid over there. Stove. Take this guy over here. pop the lid on. I mean, I'm sure if it wasn't there, it would taste different, but nobody can tell me what a bay leaf tastes like. Nobody, because they're inedible. Although I've heard you can deep fry them. I'm gonna set an hour timer on this, and in that hour, I'm gonna make other things. Because I want this chicken cooked through. Once the chicken's cooked, it shouldn't be that much longer. So I'm not expecting this to be a super, super long show. We'll just use well, no, I want a timer that's not going to go to sleep. My tablet timer always goes to sleep. Google, be a timer for me. What? Google, what's wrong with you? Google Timer is missing for some users as the feature is disabled in 2022. Great. Oh God. Fine. We'll check it at 6:15. Because I don't have a timer that's easy to hand. So he's going in. Oh, whoa, it's hot in there. Oh boy. Let's hope that's not too hot. Whisk. So a chimichanga, if you're not familiar, because it's kind of an odd thing, is a Tex-Mex dish. It's a burrito that's deep fried. I'm not deep frying this one. I don't want it to get that much oil off, but we're going to fry it at the end of it. The oven is at 475 because I looked up a braise and it said do that. I looked up a different one that said 350. So I think I'm going to start it hot and then bring it down to sort of split the difference. I think that the hot temperature was intended to get the skin that's poking above crisp, which I don't care about for this recipe. But I'm giving it a bit of a treatment of both. So I preheated it to 475, and now it's down to 350 to hopefully split the difference. It won't be in there, it shouldn't be in there long enough to boil off that water. So part 2, because now we got an hour to do other things. If I wanted to do this properly, the longest element is the next one, beans. But instead of doing beans from dry beans, which would take literally, I would have had to start it yesterday, I bought canned pinto beans. So they're already cooked. But we're going to season it up and make my own refried beans, starting from pre-cooked beans. Although the beans are not the first ingredient that goes in. I need a little pot to construct this in. We'll get that on the stove. Oh, I forgot to get my garlic out. Garlic. We always need garlic. Small onion. I'm running low on onions already. So you can buy canned refried beans, and in fact, I've got some that I could be using, but literally the same brand in the same size can. Oh well. Each one of these onions I'm opening up has me concerned that there'll be a soft spot in the middle. I did have one. It was before I took my trip. I had one where it seemed perfectly fine, and then when I split it open, it was rotten right through the middle, right down the center. But it was very constrained to just that center, like that core. So I was able to pull out the nasty layer, and the rest of it was all pristine. I don't know. Usually, when an onion goes off, it's not the very, very center that goes off. This one, it does have a little bit of a weird center. So I'm going to just pop that out of there. We don't need a ton of onion for this anyways. I think what this one was trying to do is it was trying to sprout right out the center, but it's such a tiny little layer. I'm just going to get rid of it. So the beans are going to go inside our chimichanga. Taking that center out has destroyed the structural integrity of my onion, which I should have anticipated, but here we are. Okay. Let's put a drizzle of fun fat in my pan there, because we have a fun one available. I use it sparingly, so it's lasted a long time. Duck fat. I believe the traditional thing would be to use lard, pork lard. But if you've never had duck fat, it's definitely a little pricier than other fat options, but it's tasty. And I need to use this one up because it won't keep forever. It'll start to go off if I don't use it. So I can't just sit on it forever. I've got to use it. So expect me to use duck fat more often. Encourage me to use duck fat more often, so that we don't end up having to throw out that container because it's gone stanky on me. Yes, duck fat and potatoes is an amazing combination. I've never tried it with popcorn. Ooh, that's a great idea. Oh, that's a great idea. I will have to do that next time I make popcorn. I've never thought of that. Because sure, it's a high heat fat. So it would be perfectly fine to do with popcorn. That's the concern with popcorn, as always. You got to have a fat that can take the high heat of popping corn. But yeah, duck fat's a high heat fat. That's perfect. See, this is why I like having an audience. I'm trying to get this guy open. And, we can chit chat about things. Oh, it was a double. That's why it was so fat. It was two cloves inside of one paper, like a double yolked egg of garlic. Perfect. I was going to use 2 cloves anyways. Let's give that a rush rather than a blend, or not a blend. I don't know the word. I can't think of the word. Where I put it through my microplane. Great. A grate. This garlic crusher is not the nicest thing I've ever used. This is probably why it was $1 at Goodwill, because the stuff likes to squeeze out around the edge instead of just go right through the middle, which I find a little bit annoying. But I want my garlic a little bit chunkier for this application, not a super fine paste. Let's see. I also need cumin. Is this open? No. I couldn't remember when I last bought cumin. Fresh cumin. I always recommend getting whole spices and grinding them yourself. You don't have to use one of these. In fact, I suggest not using one of these because they are quite labor intensive, and I do it because I'm a freak. Just like a little electric coffee grinder is more than enough to grind your own spices. But spices have a much more pungency and aromatic flavor when you grind them fresh from whole seeds rather than the pre-ground stuff. And you can grind them all together. If you're using multiple spices, you can just chuck them all in a grinder together, grind them up, and they combine beautifully without even having to worry about mixing them. I'm going to pull up a quick refried beans thing here and just suggestions of other things that could go in there. Lime. I did buy a whole bunch of lime, so there's going to be some lime that goes in there. But we won't put that in yet. Yep. Just one of those little electric coffee grinders. I've got one, actually. I don't use it except for things that I have a hard time with in the hand grinder here, because I actually quite like doing a hand grind, even though it's more labor intensive. Over at the stove, let's switch to the stove. Let's see how the camera angle is. We've got a slightly different camera angle. You can see more of the back over here. You can see the edge of my tortillas hanging out on the staging table. Because I took this camera with me and then ended up not using it as a just in case. Then I had to reset it up. And somehow everything moved, and I couldn't just plug it right back in. Garlic, cumin, onion, chili powder, but I'm not going to use chili powder. I'm going to use, this stuff. Now, if you've ever seen those little cans, like a little steel can, pop top can, that's Chipotle's in adobo sauce. I love those. They're super tasty. but I find them really, really hard to use because once you've opened it, you've got a bunch of whole chipotles and adobo sauce that you've got to use up. They also sell it in a little jar like this. They're pre-diced and just mixed in with the adobo. So then all you gotta do is take a scoop. If you don't want the whole chipotles for whatever reason, such as what I don't want right now, this is a much more convenient way, and I'm surprised it's not more known because it's literally the same stuff. They just diced it up for you and put it in a container that has a lid. I don't know what's in it. I tried buying the straight up adobo sauce once before, and it's the same problem with my other thing. It says spices on it. If you've never had this stuff, it's great. I love this. It's like a rich, spicy, smoky. We just added 1 scoop to my onions. We're going to do the onions and the garlic until they're fragrant and soft. And while that's cooking away, may as well pop the top of my beans and drain off the liquid. I don't have a use for the liquid right now, but the liquid from beans, and I've actually meant to do experiments with this. The liquid from beans is a workable substitute for egg whites in most recipes that call for egg whites because it's basically protein dissolved in water, which is what egg whites are. They won't solidify the way egg whites do if you just stick them in a pan and fry them. But you can whip it and it'll hold a foam just like egg whites do. And I had always meant to do experiments with the different types of beans and maybe even different brands of the same bean to see which ones were the best. The standard, the one that caught on in the public consciousness, is garbanzo beans, but I don't use garbanzo beans, or also known as chickpeas. I don't use those hardly ever for anything. Oop, that explains that. My overhead camera is hanging because I'm only holding it on with duct tape. I don't use chickpeas for hardly anything, so I never have that stuff around. So I had always kind of wanted to figure out which other bean is effective as an egg white substitute, because not all beans are created equal. And if one of the beans I use more often is a good substitute, then that would be the ideal. But I don't have a use for them this time, and I've tried saving that stuff once before, and it goes off really fast, much like when you save egg whites. So it's not worth saving unless you've got an idea for it. But if you've got an idea for it, if you've got something that needs egg whites, keep that in mind. I have a trivia fact. People who know me in real life know my trivia. And then I'm going to have to look up an actual answer because I don't know the answer to the obvious follow-up question. But refried beans, the English name for refried beans, comes from the Spanish name frijoles refritos, but that does not mean refried in Spanish. I'm pretty sure it just means fried. It means well-fried beans. Because they haven't been fried once before. We're only frying them one time. I've never made my own refried beans though, because they are very convenient to just buy a can of, because it costs almost the same price as the regular one, and there's no effort. But we can add some fun flavors by doing it ourselves. I'm pressing down firmly over here on the other side. Get back over here. Get back over here. Lime. Press down firmly, but not so hard as to crush it, and just roll it until it's quite soft. And what we're doing is we're breaking up all those little juice pockets, especially around the outer edge, that are the hardest to get to when you get in there and try to crush it, so that it juices more easily when we juice it, which we're doing now. We're gently cutting it because it is very juicy and I don't want to squeeze all my juice out. Just kind of loosen it up. Fresh lime juice. Limes were on sale today. And I don't care if I get some lime pulp in there, so I'm going to juice it directly into the beans. And there. It's much easier to juice once you've rolled it. You can get it almost perfectly dry in just an instant. Especially if you've got a nice citrus reamer for reaming citruses. No, it's not anything else, no matter what it looks like. Okay. Ooh. It is a little bit hot for doing outside smoke. Wrong camera again. A little bit hot for doing outside smoking, but that sounds good. And by my forecast, the temperature is supposed to break in a couple days, perhaps even starting tomorrow on my end. So that sounds nice. I'm hoping the humidity will break. I am not very hopeful. I'm wishing the humidity would break, I guess. Okay, let's mash these guys up. Ooh, turn the heat down on it too. I feel like they're too hot. This is just like making mashed potatoes, but with beans. When you buy them in a can, they've been sent through an industrial thing that has them very, very pasted and pulped up. But the hand mash gives you a much sort of chunkier texture, which is part of why I wanted to do this whole, and partly because it's going to take some time to do it, and partly because I wanted that texture, because this is going inside of my chimichanga. And you just do this until it looks like refried beans. It's that easy. If you're making this from dry beans, it's also incredibly cheap to make, because we've got one tiny onion, 2 cloves of garlic, half a lime. This is a pretty small recipe for it as well, because I'm anticipating not wanting a ton of this left over, so I'm only using 1 can. But I should also some black pepper, and there's no salt in this yet. So I'm going to give it a pinch of salt, mix it in. and then we're going to taste it, and then we're going to see what else we think it needs. Should have added the salt before I mashed it. Didn't think of that until just now. Harder to incorporate the salt now that it's a paste. It would have been really easy to sprinkle it into the beans and then into the whole beans and then give it a mash. So for those of you following along at home, I know somebody is somewhere. Do as I say, not as I do. Let's have a taste. Hot. Mmm. Ooh. Mmm. Heat off. It's good. It's still got some texture from the lightly mashed beans. It's got some spice to it. I'll tell you what. That scoop of chipotle and adobo sauce might have been a little bit too generous. But it's going to go in something else, so that's good. Surprising to me, the lime jumps out, gives it this nice sharp sort of tang to it. Okay, beans. Chicken's in the oven. Have some water. It's been so hot today. Keep drinking water because sweating it all out. Now I didn't want to make rice for this. Okay, sorry, I zoned out there thinking about things. I almost just bought a prepackaged Spanish rice. Just like, I'll throw some rice in there because burrito often has rice in it. I think I'm gonna just completely skip that and have it be chicken and beans, and then everything else is going to be the sort of fresher stuff. That's pretty good. I'll have to remember to do that. Do my own refried beans in the future. They were pretty easy, and I can customize the flavor pretty well. Let's get back over here. For my side sauces, we're going to keep Tiny Whisk handy. He's going to be called into service at some point today. So I almost made 3 sauces, but that was because I was thinking with my stomach and I was very hungry. I'm going to make 2 sauces to accompany it on the plate. Both of them green. We're going to make a Salsa Verde and a Guacamole. The price of avocados has come down. I was kind of avoiding avocados when they were $2 each, but they're now half that. So I feel better about them in general. Big knife. And let's open an avocado. Let's hope this one's as ripe as it looks like it is. This is how I always open an avocado. You cut in one side until you hit that pit. And then you roll the knife all the way around the long way until you get back to where you started. Grab the avocado in one hand and just give it a gentle twist. Bam, perfect avocado. And then, the fun part, you take your knife, you line it up in there, you go whack. See, I off-centered it even, but that's fine. Twist, pop, perfect pit. Perfect avocado. I know some people struggle with avocados, but that's my perfect avocado. This is, by the way, a perfect avocado. Not just the way I cut it, but like this is the ideal ripe avocado. I could just eat this with a spoon. I'm always a little bit leery when I buy an avocado that looks perfectly ripe on the outside because I've been duped by ones that got ethylene treated. A lot of fruits use ethylene in the ripening process, and you can trick them into ripening faster if you treat them with ethylene. But it doesn't make them ripen as well. And what you'll see when they do it to avocados is that the outer skin will turn this deep purplish brown color that indicates that they are super ripe. But then when you get inside of them, they're still rock hard because they weren't given the chance to just ripen. I'm guessing it comes from a supplier that just has a bunch of underripe ones, and they treat a couple of them so they can have some nice ripe ones in the mix. So oftentimes I just buy the ones that are obviously not ripe because they'll ripen on your countertop. They'll just sit around. Avocados will ripen just in the open air. Now that we've gotten it cracked open, taking the other half of that lime, sticking it in there. The juice, the acid in the lime juice, will do most of the work in preventing our avocado from turning brown. Avocados oxidize very quickly once you've got them out of their skins. So you either got to eat them or give them a bunch of acid. Acid, get into a chemistry lesson here. The way acids work is that they have a bunch of freely available hydrogen ions. When you put them into a solution, the hydrogen ion floats around in the solution, ready to grab onto other things that are in solution with them. One thing that loves grabbing onto free hydrogen ions is oxygen. So the oxygen that would be getting in there and oxidizing the avocado goes in there, bumps into one of those acids, and that hydrogen just grabs it right out of the air. And that's why acids stop your fruits from going all weird. Fun facts. I think we're going to finish off this head of garlic today. This is my last head of garlic too, so we're going to be a little bit sparing. Oh, I already got the tube out. The tube's up here. So for this one, I am going to grate the garlic right in there. I don't want pieces of garlic. I want as fine a paste as I can get. So we're going to get out my microplane and paste this garlic right into the mix. Hey, I got a bunch of people here, people who purportedly like watching me. I need ideas for the point rewards on the bottom. If you're not familiar with what those are, at the bottom of the chat box, there's a little purple icon with a number next to it that ticks up as you're watching, and those are channel points that you've earned just by being here. But I don't have any ideas what to do with them, so all that's in there should be the default ones. Okay. So that's another thing I need ideas for. I've got a couple of basic ideas. See what's actually in there. Highlight, unlock emotes, modify emotes. What else goes into a guacamole? I bought the ugliest looking red onion they had because, near as I can tell, none of these blemishes are real blemishes. This thing is firm all the way around. All these little spots are just like discolorations on the outer paper layer. A little bit of onion is going in. I'm actually going to use the top part here that I normally cut away because we're not making a very big guacamole. I hear something. Oh, I hear the fan of my computer kicking up, despite the fact that it's not doing anything strenuous. Boy, we hardly need any onion for this. 35 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. I do care. I care deeply. I should probably peek at it before the appointed time. Last time I did a braise, I followed the directions to the letter. When I looked at it, it was all dried up and burned because the liquid had all boiled off before it had finished cooking. So we probably should take a peek at it. Jalapeno. Can't have a oof, slightly soft jalapeno. But you can't have a guacamole without a jalapeno in there. We've already got lime in there, so we're going with lime instead of lemon. Uh, going with jalapeno dice as my spicy element. I've got a tomato. I'm going to take a little bit of that, put that in there. Some salt, I guess. I know at least one of you makes guacamole all the time. Well, makes guacamole regularly. Now, hopefully this is a spicy jalapeno. I should taste my finger. Yes, okay, the jalapeno has spice in it. Ever since we had that one that had no spice in it at all, I'm a little like weird around jalapenos. I should mash it together before I throw the tomato in, otherwise the tomato's just going to get mashed. So we'll do that. Tried doing this once with one of those really underripe avocados, and you basically have to dice it on the board with a knife, and you end up with little crunchy chunks of avocado instead of a nice mushy sauce. Which is why, if you, whoa, which is why you make a mess. Pressed a little too hard, slipped out the side of the bowl. What was I saying? Which is why, if you're making something that calls for avocado and you know you're making it in advance, pick up an avocado that's a little underripe a couple days ahead, and just let it ripen at your house. It will give you a more reliable result. Don't. Everyone always wants to get the ripest avocado, but only like the day they need it. I was pressing a little too hard on the edge there, and of course the bowl is curved, and avocados are a little bit slippery, so we slid up the side. I also lost my grip on the edge of the bowl a little bit, so that didn't help. But that's a nice pasty paste. Then we take our tomato. Put this in after it's been mixed, because tomatoes are fragile. And then we'll have little tomato chunks in there, which I like in my guac. I feel like guacamole is a very personalizable thing, customizable thing. Like, I'm not putting cilantro in mine, but I know other people who would not dream of having it without cilantro. And I'm not substituting parsley because I don't think parsley tastes good in a guacamole. In a guacamole. There we go. A nice guacamole that's going to be on our plate. We can taste it now. Let me give it a taste right this moment with a fork. Creamy, limey. A little bit of crunch from the onion. Not a lot of flavor from the tomato. Needs a pinch of salt, but not a ton. It's actually quite good without much salt. Glad the price of avocados is coming back down. They went up real bad for a while there. More than doubled in price around me. But I quite like them, and they're reasonably good for you as things go. They are they're one of these stranger fruits in that they're very fatty. But it's vegetable fat, it's oil. Just kind of getting it to the middle there, so it has a little bit less surface area, so that if it does start to oxidize, it doesn't go all super brown all the way through. It shouldn't oxidize because it's got the acid in it. But we're not going to get to it immediately, so I'm also going to put a little bit of a lid on it. I could. Yeah, actually. I'm going to take it out of that bowl, put it in a glass bowl that I can more easily cover up. Because I've got one that's just the right size. Okay, that was pretty easy. I can smell the chicken. I'm going to take a peek in there. Nope. Yep. And you were just reminding me at 45 minutes for chicken. I'm going to put a little piece of plastic over the top of this. But then I'm going to take a peek at the chicken, just to make sure we're not burning it away. It smells chickeny. So that's a good sign. We're also going to find out what it tastes like, I guess. So come with me over to the stove. We will do it right there on that. Bam. Hot damn, look at that chicken. He's all chickeny. He's still sticking above, which is what you want in a braise. Let's take its temperature while I've got it out. I'm going to do one right in that leg there. 168, 169, 175 all of a sudden. Find the deep part of the thigh, jam it in there. And we're still low in the middle of the thigh. And jam it down into that breast, where we've got 182, 183. Okay, the breast is going to be a little over, but we're doing a braise, so that should help prevent it from totally drying out. This is why, ideally, if you're making chicken, you should not cook the whole thing at once. Same problem with turkey. Probably shouldn't cook the whole thing at once. You probably should break it down because the different parts cook differently. It needs more time though, because the thigh right in the center was just about 150, which is definitely under. But we're getting there. And yes, the braise, all the liquid in the braise should be, in theory, preventing the meat from drying out. If you got the breast meat to that temperature without something to help lubricate it, it would just be arid. But we didn't look like we were losing much of the liquid at all, just that the chicken had kind of contracted upwards. So, part 4 of our project. A lot of things going on, and everything seems to be going well, which has me worried. We're going to move the guacamole there because I need to clean up the board here a little bit. Onion. Ooh, my onion is leaking onion juice. Delicious onion juice. But it's purple onion juice. Get us back over to the board here. I gotta sort stuff out a little bit. Part 4, I said part 4. Salsa Verde, which is where Tiny Whisk is going to be called into action at some point. What do I estimate on time? I don't know. I was going to check that at the quarter after, so another 15 minutes, take a peek at it, see what it's like. So I don't know. At least a half hour left in the show, if that's what you're meaning. Let's get this wiped off a little bit. Ugh, I keep bumping into the boom mic here, the little headset mic. So, Salsa Verde. We've got our Verde right here. These are tomatillos, which are related to tomatoes. They're also related to, if you are familiar with them, ground cherries. These are actually much more closely related to ground cherries. They are also related to, this one you may be less familiar with, but who knows, lantern fruit, which is so named because it has this little, the same kind of papery casing, but it's much more large. Oh, on the chicken. I'm going to check it again at another 15. This guy had his casing pretty well on there, and he's nice and sticky on the outside as a result. These two, the casings had already split, so I'm going to give them a quick wash off because that sticky surface tends to collect some dirt. Eh? And the dirty one. Yeah. So you've probably seen a salsa verde. It's often just the green salsa that you find at a Mexican place next to the other things. Uh, and it's green because it uses these guys as the base instead of a tomato. Let me pull up a quick reference, as always. We're gonna have to get out the blender for this guy, I think. We're not making a ton of this because again, I'm making enough for one, and I don't really want a ton of leftovers. Um, hmm. Gotta find one of these that's not going to scream or do that. Um, well, we're gonna wing it. So if salsa verde is supposed to be like a lighter thing, uh, tomatillos are sour slightly. They have a little bit of a savory flavor. You're supposed to blend them into a pretty fine paste. I'm going to start by giving them a chop into some big chunks here. They don't goosh out the way tomatoes do when you cut them, which is helpful. But they do kind of lose their integrity once the skins are broken. They're really held together by the skin. Eh. So. So, to my understanding, what you're supposed to put in a salsa verde is these guys: jalapenos, onion, garlic, again, some salt, and some cilantro. And I'm not putting cilantro in. We do have some parsley. Well, I should check. I had some parsley before my trip. I suspect I still have some parsley, but we'll see what condition it's in. Oh, and some lime, which we have another lime on hand because they were very cheap today. Let's see. We don't need the bean masher anymore, and we don't need that, and we do need this guy. He's coming back because we're going to do another garlic. The question is, do I blend this first, or do I assemble all my ingredients and then blend? I think I'm going to assemble ingredients. I think we're going to go for the assembly route on this. The blender will give us a nice even paste or sauce. So we want everything to be in similar sized chunks to that, or smaller, so the blender has an easy time grabbing onto them. I said Tiny Whisk would be involved in this one. I'm wondering if that's even going to be true. He's overseeing. He's hidden behind the blender there. Does anybody know what goes into salsa verde besides the things I just listed? I'm going to wipe this juice off because despite my assertion that I was going to look up a reference recipe, I ended up not actually looking up a reference recipe. I ended up getting frustrated because the first recipe site I clicked on had me scroll a million pages to the bottom, and then the recipe didn't load. We're doing the same thing here. I'm rolling out a lime. But before I cut into it, I want to zest this guy. Because I want this to be limey. And the green part of the lime, well, this is any citrus fruit. The outer colored part of the skin. Now, I know I've said this before, but I'll just repeat it every time. The outer colored part of the skin is called the zest, and it has most of the flavor. If you get things that are flavored with orange or flavored with lemon, they're extracting it from that colored outer skin, not from the juice. The juice has all the acid in it, which makes it sour. The zest can give you strong flavors of whatever citrus you're using without adding either a lot of liquid or a lot of acid. Now, we are going to juice this as well because I want the acid in there. I want the juice of the lime, but I want that lime flavor a lot too. So this is probably going to be a horrible bastardization of a salsa verde since I'm not following a recipe. I'm just kind of feeling it. And a microplane is the perfect tool for getting that zest off of there because it has very, very thin blades that scrape just a tiny ways in there. Because if you go too deep in between the fruit, the juicy fruit part, and the colored outer part is the pith, which on sometimes it's very, very thin, but sometimes it's very thick. It's often thick on lemons, I notice. We'll see what this guy looks like. The previous one had a very thin one. It's very thin. So there's a little thin white layer in between the colored skin and the juicy interior. And that part has basically no flavor, of the fruit that you're working with, but it's very bitter. So you can't just take a whole lime and whack it in there and grind it up and it'll be good. That's why we're always juicing and zesting, because we're specifically avoiding that pith layer, because you can eat it. It's perfectly edible. It's very bitter. It does not taste good. The only way I've ever had that where it tasted good is like a candied or pickled rind where it's been preserved in something. And in that case, the bitter flavors have all been extracted and the pith is basically flavorless. Um, we're going to do a whole lime. So juice and maybe a sour salsa. Make sure I add no other liquid after this, because this is plenty of lime juice. I hope at least some of you have learned something from my ramblings, my desperate wellspring of knowledge. We need some garlic in this. Ugh, the garlic didn't want to roll, it just wanted to slide. Garlic, which, since I'm going to blend this, we're just going to take the end off, split it, chunk it, toss it in. This is the other part of that jalapeno from before. We're not shying away from making a spicy salsa here. I didn't want the guacamole to be super spicy. I don't like a super spicy guacamole. I just want a little bit in there. And there's spice in pretty much all the other elements we've got here. But when I think of a salsa verde, the green salsa, I assume it's going to be hot. I think of a salsa verde as the hot version. And I think that's usually because they are made with serrano, which is quite a bit hotter of a pepper than a jalapeno. Which we didn't go for because I am a coward. And I'm also taking the pith and the seeds out of these guys. Same reason you take the pith out here. Well, two reasons to take the pith out here. The pith on a pepper is where most of the heat is located. The pith and the seeds, because the pepper doesn't want you to eat the seed part. It would rather you eat the fleshy part and then spit the seed part out. Or it would even prefer more if you were just a bird, ate the fruit part, swallowed the seeds whole, and then flew a mile away and pooped them out somewhere. That's the dream. But even for non-spicy peppers, such as your bell pepper, the pith is bitter. It doesn't have good flavor. So I always cut the pith away in addition to removing the seeds. The seeds are just hard and crunchy, and if all you want is heat, then I'd keep them. But they don't provide anything for flavor. They just provide heat. And they're quite hard and quite difficult to bite down on because they're very flat. Okay. What's in there? Garlic, pepper, tomatillo, lime, salt, onion. I'm gonna take this little end of onion. Since it's there. No sense in letting it go to waste. We'll chuck that in there. I don't think that I'm supposed to put an onion in there. Or if I am, it's probably supposed to be a white onion so it doesn't affect the color. Oops. Oops. Ugh. I was doing so well, and then I bumped the thing. Ugh. Ugh. Okay. We are 15 minutes since I last checked the chicken. So before I move on with the salsa, let's go take a peek at the chicken. I want to make sure that wherever I poke my poker, it comes out fully cooked. Because don't eat undercooked chicken. It's not good for you. 168, 174, 175, deep in the thigh. We'll go right in the front of the breast there. 185. And let's poke in that middle bit there. 181. 191 if I hit the bottom, where it's touching the bottom of the pot. I think the lowest temp I can find right now is 175, so we're well over our target temp. Double check. Chicken temp. US FDA recommends 165 degrees Fahrenheit. So I think we're good on that front. The liquid itself is just shy of boiling, which makes sense because it was literally just boiling a second ago. So, yep, and there's no sign of any sort of off colors. Your color probably isn't as nice as it could be, but yeah, I don't see any pink leakage. The leakage coming out of the poke holes is completely clear. So I'm going to say that is probably done chicken. I want to get it out of there so it can cool off a little bit before I get into it so I don't burn my fingers. But I think we are coming to... So an hour was just about right then. I'll keep that in mind. We can do this again with another half chicken. It only takes an hour. Take the oven off. I'm going to... I need a dish to put that on so it can cool off a little bit before I dive in. What is the dish I would like to use? Should have thought of this. Should have thought of this before getting this far. Should have thought of that. Let's use one of these guys. Just because I want it to contain the juices of the chicken. And these are slightly bowl-shaped. So get that guy out of there. And we are, of course, not throwing this away. This has delicious peppers, onions, and chicken drippings, and a couple of bay leaves and some celery that were also in there for some reason. This, we're not using it today, but this is the basis of some other delicious. Goldie! Hey, welcome in. That's a nice dancing lemon. Whose dancing lemon is that? I like that lemon. We just took the chicken out of the braise, and I was just saying how much I want to save this braising liquid, but I don't have a use for it, so I'm just going to set it aside, and we're going to pack it up, and we'll use it for something else. Here's my braised half of a chicken. We'll bring that back over here. I think we're done on the stove until... I think we're done on the stove up until I want to do the final fry on my chimichanga, which I want the sauces to be ready before I do that, and we need the chicken to rest a little bit. So the chicken's going to sit on the edge there, see it hanging out, and rest. I'm going to blend my Salsa Verde. We tested this once before, and this does not deafen you guys, so oops, I poked the plug right into the breaker test button instead of into the plug. Where did I put the lid? There's the lid. You guys can see the contents. And great. Voila. Probably because there's so much lime juice in there. It's quite thin. Can you? I don't think I can. Anything I can throw in there that would make it thicker at this stage. I do need to taste it, so I got the spoon out. Oh, it's sour. Ooh. Wow. Roller coaster flavors. Probably should have had half a lime. It's sour. It's sour. It's very bright. It's super the opposite of the guacamole. I wish it was a little bit thicker. Too late for that. I guess I'll have to serve it in a little dish instead of on the plate, which is fine because the guacamole is also in a little dish, so I'll have two little side dishes instead of... My vision was that I'd have the chimichanga in the middle, and then an arc of guacamole on one side and an arc of salsa verde on the other side. Which I could do with the guacamole, but I think this is a little bit too runny. You can see it kind of sloshes around. It tastes good, and it's going to be a good counterpoint to everything else I'm doing, which is going to be very fatty overall. So I'm pleased with everything but the runniness, and I'm just going to go ahead and put that right into a ramekin. It probably needs some cilantro, but it's not getting any. Okay, that was easy. Let's get the tiny whisk out and tinily whisk it a little bit. I would like the little bubbles to disappear before we do service on it, so hopefully that will happen. Okay. Beans, chicken, salsa verde, guacamole, tortilla, and oil. I guess we're at that stage. We're not doing a full deep fry because I don't want to set up for a full deep fry, but we are going to medium fry it. So that needs to get heating up before I get to it. That's going to be too hot to touch still. Get that to the side. But yeah, I think we're in the home stretch. I'm going to get enough oil in here that when I put the chimichanga in it, it will fully immerse the bottom. And we'll see how much ingredients we have too. We might end up with, well, I don't want to make two. So I'm not going to make two. We're just going to see how much I get off of this. I should put the acid in this bowl because that's a, somehow my stainless steel bowl got a stain. So hopefully this is tender enough that I can get the, okay, that's not too hot to touch. It's tender enough that I can get the meat off of it and kind of shred it up. Ooh, well, it's coming apart like it's tender, so that's a good sign. The joint seems to want to hold together. Okay. There's our leg. We lost a few pieces, but that's fine because I'm intending to take it all off the bone anyways. And we didn't take any extra care with the skin, so if I want to throw skin in there, I'm going to have to chop it up pretty small. Get out a little knife. It's not like rotisserie chicken tender, but it's reasonably tender. I just got to get these little tendony bits off the ends. That's a little knuckle. Oh yeah, it's done. The chicken is done. The dark meat is my favorite part of the chicken. So I am going for the leg first, and then if that, depending on how much we get, I can bulk it out with some of the breast or the wing. I want the pieces small. I'm also going to put more seasoning on. I should taste this, because that was one of the questions. What doth this taste like? Probably like chicken. I'm amazed that more people don't like the chicken thigh. I think it's the best piece. You know, it tastes like garlic butter, which is what was promised on the package. So I guess they sure showed me. I want these in sort of. That's probably too small of a dice. Honestly, they could be in bit more generous chunks than that. But the thighs always seem to be like the cheapest part, as though people don't want them. People what want is lots of wings. I'm using a wing. I just said I was going to use the leg first, and then I immediately grabbed a wing. I find wings served as wings kind of awkward to eat. But the crystalline fat always tastes. That's what makes it taste so good. And there's veins in white meat too. I'll save that bit. I'm going to save the chunks of the carcass and throw them into my stock pot later. I don't think I want to save the skin though. I suppose. I know some people who get squicked out about like recognizable parts of the animal they're eating. Yeah. I know I'm just going to dive in again, but rinse my fingers off real quick because they're very greasy. I'm going to get that thigh off of there. And for that, I want a nice, good grip. Oh, it's actually really well cooked. The thigh is just about fall apart tender, which is exactly what I was going for. I almost because until I saw this specific chicken for sale, I was looking in the fish case at the rainbow trout. Today was almost let's do a whole rainbow trout with the face on, and I know that squicks out some people a lot because it's still got its face on it. Thigh is also much hotter still in the middle, so because it's much more massive. I like chicken breast, but I find it very hard to cook chicken breast myself. I think it dries out very, very easily. And I'm a little worried that this one might be dried out, even though we did it as a braise. I think that cooking a whole chicken is always a gamble. Cooking a whole poultry of any kind is always a gamble because the different parts cook differently. Uh, and but even when you separate it out the breast, I find it harder to cook just because it is so lean, because they've been bred so weirdly to have this giant, ultra lean muscle on the front that they don't ever use. We should eat more duck and goose. They've got big breast meat as well, but they flap around a lot more. So it's not white meat; it's dark meat. It's a big wad of dark meat. And it doesn't dry out because it has a big fatty layer attached to it. Uh, anyways, that's probably going to be enough chicken for one burrito of generous size. Not even going to bother cutting this part with a knife. I'm just going to kind of tear it into pieces. It tastes a lot like the things that it was described tasting like. So it's garlicky and has this faintly butteriness to it. I kind of want to put more seasoning in it, so we're going to do that. I don't think we need any more salt in this dish as a whole, so I'm not salting it extra. But if I was eating this by itself, it could use just a little bit of salt. Okay, get rid of you, get rid of you. I'm I'm going to save the breast for some other application, because I think we got enough meat. We can actually remove this whole board, because I think we're contained at this point. All the ingredients should be contained. So, to my chicken meat, I want to add a little bit of smoked paprika, because there's no paprika in any of our stuff so far. And the smokiness will help with that perceived lack of salt. Smokiness does similar but not exactly the same things in the palate, at least to my palate. I think I just want the smoked paprika because I don't want to add any more spice to it, because we've got spicy there. The beans have some spice in them. Smoked paprika is giving us some of that smoky flavor. We could put garlic in there, but again, there's garlic in the beans. This is just garlic powder. And there was garlic in them already because there was some garlic in the pot. Okay, I'm just going to construct. We're just going to construct from just starting now. Open up a fresh bag of tortillas, which is across the way here. You could see it on the edge of the stove camera before. Now it's blocked by the Dutch oven pot. Bam. So home-size burrito tortillas, not those super giant ones you get at the restaurants. And the beans, because the beans are going inside. Let's see, the beans have dried out a little bit because I did them early. So here's the beans. The surface has dried out. They're still soft in the middle, but the surfaces have dried out. I think they want just a tiny, tiny splash of water to rehydrate. But not too much, not even measuring it. I'm just putting in the smallest little dab at the sink. Ideally, when you make refried beans, you should be serving them probably right away, because they do, once you've got those beans all mashed up, they have a habit of drying out. But they rehydrate pretty easily as well, so no loss. And I think that they're traditionally made with more liquid than this to begin with as well, which helps them not dry out so much, but I did not add a lot of extra liquid to these. So, starting with some beans, get them centered. I don't really want to grease my hands, so I'm using the tongs on the chicken. And then we will see if my burrito folding is on point. I just realized I did not turn my oil heat on, so let's get that. Good thing I didn't turn it on, because I think it took longer than I was expecting at this stage. So if I remember this, you take the side, because I'm going to roll it this way. So you take the sides and you kind of mush it to the middle, like that. And then you flip this guy here, and you poke your finger right through it. And then you roll over and you split it on the back. Okay, well, it's definitely going to leak when I fry it now, because I split it on the back. I'm going to do another one. I've got enough ingredients to do another one of exactly the same size. So I'm going to do another one. But this time, before I start rolling it, before I even do anything else, I'm going to take this over to my microwave, which is just around the corner here. Flop it right smack on the plate in the microwave. Set the timer to 5 seconds. And 5 seconds later, it's ever so slightly warm, which should now okay, beans. Okay. Chimkin. I mean, if I really had to, I could do this again because I could just strip the breast meat off the chicken as well. But we have more in case this one also goes sour on me. So a little gentler with it this time. Same idea. Flip the sides in, give it a smash, roll that guy over, push down there so it doesn't all come out, roll that guy over, and you've got like a little postage envelope of tortilla. And that's how I roll them. I don't know if that's right, but that's how I roll them, and I'm going to fry that guy once this oil is hot. This one we're also going to try frying, but we're going to do it second. As you can see, that one's very square. This one's more long and wide. Did I squeeze all the air out of this guy? I think I did. Oop, shoot. So you griddle it to seal the flap, otherwise they fall open. We're going to fry it, which will also seal the flap. But this guy, I think, is going to come volcanoing out of that little crack if I fry it. Ooh, very thirsty. It's been hot. I've been sweating all day. And now I'm talking a ton, which is making me thirsty as well. At the moment, we are waiting for the oil to be hot enough to fry with. So I'm going to take the opportunity to clean up a few things. Put the extra chicken away, since I've got a good one I don't need to. So I don't know what angle's the best angle. We're waiting for this oil to be hot, and it's not going to look any different when it's hot. So, I didn't pick up any cerveza. I partake now and again, but I didn't pick anything up. That would have been a good thing to have to fight the heat. It should hold together. It should stick together. I'm just worried about that one with the crack because we put it in there with the folded side down, and then the frying makes the tortilla harden into the shape. We have one last thing I picked up today, which is going to be added at the end. Queso fresco. But we're doing a little clean up. guess that chicken should go in a container, one of these many containment vessels I've got around here. Since we pulled the limbs off, the benefit, I just went on a few minutes ago about how much I don't like doing a whole bird. One of the benefits of doing a whole bird is that you get chunks of carcass, all the bits of bone that get pulled out when you've only got certain pre-cut cuts, and those make for some excellent stock. And you save them all up. I have a couple of bags in here of like chunks of turkey bits from Thanksgiving, a bag of shrimp shells, all those little odds and ends, and I chuck them in my freezer until I've got a quantity that's right for making stock, and then I dump them in my either my slow cooker if I've got a lot of time and not a lot of motivation, or on the stovetop if I want to do it quicker and I've got better ideas. This is hot. I think it's actually starting to smoke slightly. So we are going to do that right now. I'm actually going to take its temperature before I do that. It's too hot. Okay, we overshot on the oil. I'm going to let it cool off a little bit before I do that because I don't want a repeat of what we did with the lumpia, where I put the first one in there. It was much too hot, burned it to hell. We're not doing a repeat of that. Plastic bag, chicken carcass. We're also going to have to package up the rest of that braising liquid because that's full of flavor. I probably have enough chicken bits at this point to do something with, so we will make a note of that. Because that's chicken bits. That might be turkey bits. I don't know what that one is. I definitely have enough chicken bits to do something with. So, I guess watch for that in the future. Chicken bits. Which is probably what I'll call it when we finally get around to it. Are you still too hot to touch? Yes. So we're moving you to the back. Are you still too hot to fry? Yes. Okay, well, glad I didn't just dunk it in there and ruin it. Since I don't have a lot of spares. I'll continue chit-chatting and put stuff away. Chimkin bits! One of my... Here, I'll show you this one. This one's fun. One of the things of chicken bits in my freezer, I purchased. This guy right here. Organic chicken. Probably isn't visible. Necks and backs. This is just chicken necks and spines that had been cut out when they were breaking down chickens at the organic chicken farm. They wrapped them up, shrunk wrapped them, and froze them, and they sold them. I think that normally goes into like chicken nuggets, and like cat food and type stuff, because like it's good meat. It's perfectly good meat. It's just people don't want to be eating a neck, for some reason. For some reason, people are okay with ripping meat off of a leg bone, but if you give them a spine with meat on it, they don't want to rip meat off of a spine bone. Seems like a double standard to me. Let's check this thing's temperature again. Okay, we're within a decent frying range. I'll bring it back to the heat. I need to be careful with this because I want to hold the bottom part together as I put it in, but I don't want to stick my fingers in hot oil. So there we go. It's popping. It's popping. Standing back from it because it scares me a little. We'll try frying the other one too. See what happens. And we're just going for golden brown because the contents are all cooked. So we're just going for a crispy exterior and a nice golden brown. This is just vegetable oil, regular old vegetable oil, because it's cheap and it's got a high heat on it. If I was being fancy with this, I'd probably use. Well, if I was being fancy with this, I would do a full deep fry with duck fat. But that would be very expensive. There is some duck fat. We started out with some duck fat. There's some duck fat in the refried beans that are inside of there. We used that. For the most part, I've actually been doing some learning about frying oils. I was doing a little bit more deep frying earlier on in the channel. So I've done a little bit of learning about fry oils, and near as I can tell, it doesn't really matter which oil you fry with. Famous celebrity chef Mario Batali deep fried with extra virgin olive oil, and it was fine. I mean, I wouldn't do that because it would be kind of expensive. But he never seemed to have a problem. I think my temperature dropped off too much when I put that big old thing in there. I mean, he was a celebrity chef, so he was on a show. The show was paying for it. Extra virgin olive oil does have a low smoke point, but that's what I was doing. As I've been reading, what I've been learning about. The smoke point has very little to do with the flavor you get from frying. It's literally just the point at which the oil starts producing smoke. That's it. It it doesn't, and the smoke is mostly coming from things dissolved in the oil, which is why extra virgin olive oil has a very low smoke point because it's got a lot of olive solids still in it. I think our temperature fell off a lot when I put this in. I need a a second thing here to brace it so I can pick it up. Oh no, don't poke. Don't poke. I should have used a spoon. Our flap isn't holding together very well. And we're a little bit past golden brown, but not too far, so that's good. I think our temperature dropped off just a little bit too much. I've said that 3 times now, but I'm going to reiterate it one more time. Since this is a brown thing, I'm going to get out a white plate for it. Smells good. We'll serve it with the flap side down so you can't see it. That's the thing. The unhealthy free radicals. That was the research I was reading about. It was thought that the unhealthy free radicals start appearing when you exceed the smoke point, but the research was discovering that the free radicals start appearing when you exceed around 400 degrees, regardless of the smoke point. Even very high smoke point oils start to produce free radicals at that point, and they actually start to produce it at about 350. It's just that it increases a lot at 400. That the smoke point is not indicative of those free radicals being produced. That's what the research I was reading was talking about. Because yes, I had worked under that assumption previously too, which means that you can use lower smoke point oils for frying if you want the flavor. Now, extra virgin olive oil, I think, gets a little bit acrid because those non-oil components in it start to actually burn. Speaking of burning, get that guy out of there and try it with the other one. And that one I just lick with my fingers. I don't know. If this one looks nicer, I may end up with this one as the serving one. I'm going to put them both on their own plates. We'll see which one looks nicer when I'm done. So that's the first one. There he is. We are going to do the second one. I'm going to keep a closer eye on this one and hopefully not get it quite that dark. It's a little bit too dark, I think. I actually have no idea what the word chimichanga means. Somebody look that up. What does the word chimichanga translate to? Since this isn't a Mexican dish, this is a Tex-Mex dish. Okay. This time I'm using a spoon so I don't poke it. But we're flipping it already. Oh, that guy got pretty brown too. I guess it browns really fast. Totally American invention. I also believe that. Let's see. Scissors, because this cheese does not have a pull tab on it. I stood there looking at the 2 different brands of this same cheese, and I ended up with this one. And only now do I realize that I picked the one that doesn't have a tab that you can open it with. And that was the only difference between them, because I couldn't figure out what the difference between them was. That guy's coming out now. Oh, and he didn't volcano out of his little... He didn't volcano out of the little crack. I actually like this one with that little white spot in the middle. Chimi comes from chamuscado, seared or singed. That makes sense. Rude expression. Okay. Well, that also makes sense. It's a rude little accident. Delightful. Now, queso fresco is supposed to be a crumbly cheese. So put it right on the top there. It should. I should not be doing this over the top of that. Meh, meh. Sizzle. The heat is off on the oil. It's just that it's very hot because it's oil and retains heat. I think I can get the nice plating on these. Okay. Okay. That's all the things. They're all done. All the things are done. Let me put this cheese away real quick. We ended up making two. If one of you claims it as your own. I'll stick it in the mail and it'll be there in 3 to 5 weeks. Oil, move to a cold burner because it's smoking like mad. Oh, because I left the burner on. I'm so terrible at this. Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to throw that oil out because I definitely charred it now. Okay, here's the question. Which one do I make the official one? I'm thinking this guy. Because it's got that sort of longer shape. This one ended up kind of like an envelope. Here, I know. I don't have to just ask. We've got a poll. We'll take a vote. Because I'm going to attempt to dress the plate on the one that I use. And then I'll taste the other one for you guys right now. Well, nah, I'll taste the good one and pack the other one away. It'll keep well enough. Paper towel. Where did I put that? Paper towel roll. There you are. Lefty righty on my screen. I hope it's not mirrored on you guys. Ooh, one vote for righty. Somebody likes that square. I gotta remember to use. I just unlocked all these things. Lefty is the winner. I got to remember to use all these tools that I have now. They make streaming so much more fun. Okay, we're going to set the loser here aside. I'll get back to him. We're going to dress the plate. Should have dressed the plate before I put the thing on there, but I wasn't sure which one I was going to use. This is the runny. This is a runny salsa. Oop. My screen blipped. You guys, any of you see a blip just now? My screen did a little blip. Probably just Twitch being Twitch. That looks good. Okay, I'm going to take a picture of this, and then we will dive in, let you know how it is. And by a picture, I mean I'm going to take about 20 pictures of this. Okay. Hopefully one of those is a usable picture. Hopefully one of those is a usable picture. So that's my finished product. We're just going to use this fork because I've got it handy. We are going to need a knife because chimichanga gets kind of crispy on the top and is a little bit too hot and greasy to pick up easily. I kind of want to go right in the middle to make my best bite, my first bite, then my best bite, because there's going to be little chewy tortilla corners on the end. So I'm going to split this guy right down. Ooh, shatteringly crisp exterior. One little tiny fly has come to visit. A lot of beans, not a lot of chicken in that part. Interesting. Oh. Mm. Mm. Oh, surprising. Ooh. Ooh. It's surprising. I think it actually soaked up a little bit of the Salsa Verde juice, which I will put on here and give a taste with some on it directly. Ooh. Okay. Oh. There's a little bit of a lime flavor just in the beans, which comes out quite prominently, but not like overpoweringly. The Salsa Verde gives it a very bright. It's drippy. The whole thing is kind of drippy. It's good. It's surprising in surprising ways. I got to try at least another bite because I got to try it with my guacamole on it. So one more bite. Mmm. Mmm. Okay. Every bite of this, washing my hands between every bite because I want to handle things. It's like 3 different things because the flavor of the salsa verde and the flavor of the guacamole are both quite prominent and strong. It has a very interesting flavor on its own. It's rich. It's surprisingly not that greasy, which is good. I was afraid it would soak up a bunch of that oil into the tortilla, but it's surprisingly not very greasy, which I like. The beans have a really nice flavor. The chicken, I can taste it. It's kind of subtle. When you add either of the sauces to it, it changes the profile of the thing. This one makes it very sharp, biting, bright. The guacamole gives it this creaminess, but the guacamole also has a good amount of spice in it. Surprisingly, the guacamole is spicier than the salsa verde. I think all the lime juice may have muted the spice over here. I'm not sure. But I can, you can, yes, it's the spices in the chicken, whatever those spices are. But like I can take a bite with this, and I can take a bite with this, and I can take a bite without either of them, and it's a different flavor, a different dish with each bite, which is very fun, and that's why you do sauces on the plate like that. And it worked. That's exactly the idea behind having a smear of one and a smear of the other, is you can sort of construct each bite as you choose. I quite like this. This is very good. Obviously, the most time-consuming part here was braising the chicken. This was not difficult to make overall. You obviously don't have to make your own salsa verde. You don't have to make your own guacamole, although I recommend making your own guacamole. Not hard. This stuff was not hard. I think there's too much lime juice in it because it's kind of soupy. Other than that, good flavor, easy to make. The chimichanga itself, surprisingly easy to make. I was worried I would have a hard time with the frying step where it would either fall apart or soak up a bunch of oil. And it did neither of those things. So I think we're good. And this is the one that had the split in it even. The split's right there, and it just hardened over instead of volcanoing out. So even the little crack, not a problem. That's pretty good. Pretty good. We have a horrific mess. You can't see it. I keep the messes off the sides of everything. But oh man, every direction there's just stuff. There's just mess. So I've got some cleanup to do. I also got to eat this while it's still fresh. So we are going to wrap it up. I'm sure I'm keeping someone from their own dinner as well at this point. So take us back. Glad to be back in the saddle. I think we had a big success here. I hope to this week, now that I'm back in the saddle, get a nice list of emotes so that it's not just the one emote for subscribers. Get my channel points stuff set up because we got affiliate, and then I was sick for a weekend, and then we had my celebration show, and then I was away for a week. So it's been a kind of a big weird gaps in there. Yeah, that's the emote. Just the one. Anyways, let's see who's live that I can go raid off onto. Wow. Every single channel that I follow that is live right now is playing the same game. I've never heard of this game. It's called Stray. And it must have just come out because everyone's playing it. Oh, it's a cat game. I guess we're gonna go see somebody playing a cat game, and I get my pick of it because they're all everyone's playing it. So let's go see LaFay. Uh, by the look of it, you play as a stray cat. Uh, so that's fun. I just was surprised. Everyone's playing the same game. It's very surprising. I don't have much else to say. I'm gonna try to work on my back end stuff for the channel this week because we're back in it. Otherwise, sticking to my existing schedule. I'll see you Saturday for brunch if you're ready to rock and roll. Hopefully, I'll have an idea by then, or otherwise we're going to be winging it. Thanks for coming out. It's always a fun time. Very exciting. Big things in the future. I was looking over there, make sure that that burner was off because I always forget to turn that one off. I'm not going to wait for the countdown. 3, 2, 1. Let's raid.